1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And is this outside the friends and family? Is it early idea stage or early stage? So how many idea stage? Early stage? So a few praise. So basically there are people who've been there, done that, some of it. There are people who haven't done it. How many of you have, other than during this competition, pitched to investors? Oh, who hasn't? Sorry, wrong question. Who has not yet pitched? So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So we'll talk about pitching also. So my talk I will try and go start from the basics and go deeper into where we are at with fundraising. I'll talk about investors' perspective. I will also talk about pitching, because pitching is an important element when it comes to fundraising. So I'll try and cover everything. It's about 10 right now. I'll try and go on for about 40-45 minutes. And then I would like to have questions from you so that I can probably address that better. But if we don't have it, I can go on for another, go deeper into whatever you want me to go further or deeper into. So fundraising, obviously, for all startups of all. I hate this micromanaging through Zoom. Hello? Cordless de do. So I've scribbled sub notes, and we'll start with pitching. Yeah. Where is it? Oh, so TiE India Angels is the TiE's flagship program where we invest in earlier stage and idea stage companies. So I'm currently leading that initiative in India, in addition to being a chair of TiE Global, which will end on 31st of December. But that TiE India Angels initiative, where we are investing across India through our chapters, will continue, and I will lead that for a year or two until it stabilizes. So it's basically our angel program, which I talked about, briefly mentioned it in my opening speech also, that this is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning for you to stay engaged with all of us, because if you need to have angel investment, and they will come into my talk also while I go. So pitching is a very, very critical thing. So I quickly browse and talk about pitching for 10-15 minutes and see, though you've all mostly been pitching, but there are certain basic things that you need to know. When you reach out to investors, when you reach out to people like me, angels, VCs, any other funding agencies, you have to understand that the success rate is very low. We are being approached by hundreds of people on a daily basis, and we are very, very clear. We will give a one-line, one-word answer. So don't be disappointed by the response to your outreach, whether through social media or whether through other means, cold emails that you might have. So you have to be very, very good at what you are doing to get my attention into the next thing. So your pitch or your first teaser should just interest me. It should just make me curious to know more. You don't have to send me 30 slides and 25 slides and tell about everything that you've done or could do. It should just be enough so that I am interested to ask you a question. That's one way of getting a response from me. That you've put me in a situation where I like what you have achieved in 6 months, let's say from traction point of view. But how have you achieved it? That question you've not answered. So your go-to-market strategy slide should be missing in the teaser. Because if you tell me everything, then I know everything and say, aha, done there, been that, wo bhi kar raha hai, ye bhi kar raha hai. So you will not get a response from me. So that will be, so the cold email or social media or initial pitch deck should be a teaser pitch deck. So there should be 2 pitch decks. This is a business plan competition, you need a other pitch deck. But for when you reach out to investors, you need a teaser pitch, which is a very small, very brief, what you talk about. Now, sending me a cold email or sending me a referral email to, let's say, through Harshit is a difference. Your odds have improved much better. So that is why incubation centers, accelerator programs, networking organizations that are in your domain, to stay connected, to reach out, to work, referral is always better when you are approaching me. Because Harshit ne bola hai, isliye I'll look at it, I'll give it more time, maybe 5 minutes more, but the odds are improving as we go. Secondly, if you write to 100 people, it will not help. You need to do a lot of research. Is this investor the right investor for me? Is he or she investing in impact and I am in impact? Or is she working in e-commerce that I am in? Is he a deep tech investing? You have to do research about investments and be specific. So pehle, you do your research in the ecosystem that's possibly your investment zone, and you don't go to someone who invests at a later stage to go at seed stage. You don't go to a seed stage company when you need growth stage funding. You're wasting your time because it might be great, your pitch might be great, your referral might be greater, but it's not for me. So you got to research a lot, whether this is the right investment platform, this is the right investor, whether this is the critical thing. So that's also very, very important. Once you have done that and once you've identified this is the platform or this is the person or this is the fund, then you find referral. How do I get to him? Does someone in TIE know? Does someone in my local city know? Does someone in the city that that fund or person is from know someone? Can I get to that person? You can send a LinkedIn or a social media, but try and do that if that helps. And the odds will improve. Now, once you've done all of that, then comes the pitch deck. So then the teaser deck is what you need to send so that I can go further. Now once you are the select few that I have given you an opportunity to pitch to me or send me a detailed deck or to come and talk to me or meet me, because all these are odds dwindle down as we go down for multiple reasons, and it might be nothing to do with you. It might be my interest, my existing investments, the fact that I can see you're not ready. You really need to work on your pitching. So now, quickly, and I'm sure you've done this many times, but I think the pitching still needs improvement all the time. And I have seen great pitches. I have seen not so great pitches, but pitches always need improvement. Now, what am I looking as an investor? That is the most important thing. I'm looking for the team. Your slide, wherever it comes on the team, should be very, very clear. Now, team does not mean that I am a PhD and I am a IIT and IIM. It doesn't mean that. For me, the team means that the problem solution that you are delivering, the team is able and capable to do that. That market team matchmaking or the fit has to work. If it does not work, you will lose me on that slide. You have to be very, very clear whether you are a founder, whether you're two co-founders. If you need more people on the team that will deliver that problem, they need to be there. If they're not there, you're wasting your time. So team is the most important thing. The leader, you as the leader, the person who's pitching, the CEO, the founder, you have to be very, very clear in your thought process. You should be very, very focused. You should be sounding motivated. You can't be sounding in a very, very boring monologue kind of. You have to have the right passion that you need for the business that you're in. You have to have the right emotion if you are in impact. You have to care about the impact that you are trying to achieve. If I don't see that, I don't see this working, so I don't invest. It's a multitude of things in addition to the pitch is how you're pitching, is what you're saying, what is the voice module. All these are very, very critical things. And these are very, very important. It should work. You should have answers for everything. If you are the founder and CEO and you say, I'll get back to you, because you don't know your numbers, you don't know where you will be 5 years later, you don't know if I don't give you 1 crore and give you 50 lakhs, what will you achieve? You're not getting the money. And that does not mean that you have answers that don't make sense or the maths that does not add up. You really need to practice. You really need to live your business. If you don't live it, if you don't sleep, drink, eat, you will be at loss of words. I will catch you. I will find some mathematical error and I will do that. And I'll give you a simple example how I do that. So everyone, and all of you have done this, you come and pitch, you are the best team, you have the best idea. Your competition is on the left and you are right top, on the top bottom up thing. You are the best to be doing that company, right? Does anyone say that wo top left or bottom left mein and she wants to go there? No. So I say, fine, great. So you have no competition. You are the best. You have an early mover advantage. Great. So you don't need 5 crores. You can do it with 50 lakhs. Because you will be profitable. Koi competition hi nahi hai. Then you say, no, I need 5 crores. So then you can't oversell. You can't undersell. You have to make sense to me. So you'll get caught in your own web. If you oversell also, you'll get caught. If you undersell or underplay, it's not right for you because I'm not excited. So the balance has to be right. You have to be realistic when you are pitching. And that will only come if you are eating, sleeping, drinking your idea, and you know everything that you need to know, and you have practiced it 100 times. If you don't do that, no matter how good an orator you are, you will not be able to convince. That's the other thing that I wanted to see, that I see lacking in all of you. The idea should have the possibility to grow. It should not be an organic growth. It should be a multiple from angel point of view. You all know that, so that's not a difficult thing. If for people who've reached traction, there should be enough traction. These days, bottom line has become very important, what it was not earlier. Growth month on month is very, very critical, both in terms of numbers and in terms of money. If you don't have revenues growing, if you don't have numbers growing, it works against you. Something is not working. The other very important thing that I have seen is at times, and this I said in my talk the other day, let's say you are trying to get something, let's say it's health tech, and I gave that example the other day. If the doctors are paying you to get them patients, and you are creating a technology-enabled, AI, ML-driven, rural med healthcare where gaon se mareej will come to a city doctor, first do online and then come to the hospital if operations needed. If you're solving that problem, so what happens is, oh, the gaon wala is free. That's big, I am doing that. The doctor is paying, so you focus on the doctor because he's your customer and he's giving you revenue. Let me add numbers because you have to reach out to me. But you forget that the guy who's free is the reason why the doctor is paying. So your attention should be on that third. You are the enabler. You don't make money, I don't like you. The doctor is not paying, I don't like you. But that free person that is coming on the platform of Flipkart or Snapdeal, who's buying for the vendors to list, is equally important. That is why you see full page ads in papers and deals for consumers, because without them, no one will be on the platform. So don't forget that traction number. That acquisition of consumers, because then that's a satisfied customer for a paying customer of yours. So that's something that I've seen lacking in many cases, because you don't care about that traction. You're saying doctor बढ़ रहे हैं, revenue बढ़ रहा है. पहले हम 100 रुपए ले रहे थे referral fee, अभी हम 150 ले रहे हैं तो revenue बढ़ गया. But no, I need to see that number also going without, because otherwise we will not cease to exist without that. Of course, you have to be the right market fit. Your plan should be very, very clear. Your plan should be ready with all bumps that you might have on the way. There might be things that will not go your way. So if you have, hi, please. If your plan goes in the direction that it has to have challenges from other companies trying to come in that area. What I mean is there is indirect competition always, which you don't see, which we want you to see, so that you are ready with that. So when you are pitching, that should be very, very clear. Your milestones should be very, very clear. Why are you giving me this milestone? Why is that milestone not the right milestone? So all these things in your pitch deck have to be there. Now the order of the pitch. There's no formula. You can't have कि पहली मेरी, because I've ordered it like a team का पहला है, product problem क्या है, solution क्या, no. The first 2-3 slides have to be the most important slides. The best slides that you have. The slides that want me to see the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th slide. Those are, your order it varies from everyone to everyone. If the impact is the number one thing, number one. Traction in 5 months, 6 months, 1 year is the number one thing, that should be enough. Whatever it is that will make me think and want to see more should be there. It should never be the first thing. Everything should be covered. Sometimes if you have too many slides because it's technology or it's a product or a service that does not exist, in terms of, it's not in a knowledge, because the Rajasthan-based winner is now, she's done something with biotech, and she's not here, so I'm telling you what she's doing. So she's doing something in solving. So she needs to tell more about how effluent treatment plants happen, because it's chemistry and it's chemicals and investors don't need to know. In your case, if it's something standard that you're giving healthcare or you're doing something that everyone knows, the rural population of India or tier 4 population in India or doctors in India or e-commerce platforms in India, we know all that, right? So if you are not very, very generic, you don't need to give market size, TAM, SAM, SOM, don't make sense to me. Because we all know the market size, we understand the product. It's a common people's problem that you're trying to solve, which is great, because your market size is large. That slide does not impress me at all. Because we all know that. कि मैं चश्मे बेच रहा हूँ तो 40% लोगों को चश्मे चाहिए when the age of 55, 60, so that is your market, India का population इतना multiplied. It doesn't make sense. You are not the only, and if I achieve 1%, I will be happy. So that roadblock at that planning and those numbers are useless. I need to know, we need to know that you are starting from Trivandrum. You will go to Trivandrum first. That is what the addressable market. Then you will go to the state of Tamil Nadu or Kerala. Then you will go to South India. Then you will go to North India. You need to have those roadmaps, not the market ka multiplied by, divided by need required. Many people do that, and that's counterproductive. You've not thought through, again, you've not slept through it to know where and how you will achieve that. Just that number does not interest me, and that does not give you valuation. And I'll come to valuation, I'll come to term sheets when we talk about fundraising, but pitching is the most critical thing for you to be able to go and able to raise funds. So that's something that you need to understand, and you need to really practice a lot, you need to really work a lot, and I'll be happy to discuss that. I did not want to go much into pitching because you've already done that, you're doing that, there's scope of improvement, but you really need to look at other people who are pitching. You need to understand. You continue to improve. You need to improve your slides. You don't have to read out what's on the presentation. The presentation I'm reading while you're talking. I can do two things at the same time. You need to elaborate more if required. So all these things are minor things. I'm sure you're already doing that, so I will not go. So once you have the attention of an angel investor, once you have a pitching opportunity, once you are sitting at a network or an incubation center that's providing you opportunities from investors to pitch at, fundraising is a very, very critical thing. As I have said, you have to be very, very sure of who you are going to, research, do the right matchmaking. And especially when you're doing early stage or idea stage fundraising, you're actually looking for your parents. The first person who gives you the money is actually going to be hand-holding you, mentoring you, guiding and helping you succeed, and probably help you with the next round of funding. So though we were born without any role of having a sibling or a parent of our choice, but when you do a startup, your co-founders are the siblings that you need to choose well. And the first funder is a family or a parent that you are looking for who would guide you through. And so it's very critical that you do that research, and I'm emphasizing that again and again. That should be very, very clear. If a network is good enough because it has a wide outreach, network it is. If it's an individual who understands the cause, who's multi-dimensional and works with what you are doing, then he or she it is. It doesn't have to be the network. So your call, your choice, but research is very, very important. Of course, you know what government grants are. You know friends and family options that you might have at idea stage. And of course, you know crowdfunding if at all that is needed and it's relevant. But I'll just go into angel funding because I think that's where we are at. We don't want to go into other details. Obviously, there's idea stage, there's seed stage, early stage, growth stage, various types of funding. You need to know what stage you're at. You need to know where you want to be. When will your pre-series A be? And your roadmap until pre-series A to series A is what you need to know now. Don't worry about B, C, D, E, F, because that will change. I've seen startups that I have invested in reach series A and now they're doing completely different thing. The customer has changed. Their paying person has changed. So don't worry about all that. Itna dur bhi nahi jana hai, but 3 se 5 saal tak to jana hi jana hai. So in your this thing. Now, the biggest challenge that we all face or you all face is the cap table. Well, when you are struggling, when you're trying to start a small enterprise, and I've seen that, you end up being the proprietor, you end up being the 100% shareholder, you give 5% to your husband, in this case, or your co-founder, you give 10%. Cap tables are lopsided many a times. I understand that you've conceived it. I understand it's your idea. I understand it's your baby. But you really have to understand that for me as an investor, if I don't see parity in the cap table, it worries me. Because what if you decide to get married and have children and go the route where you don't want to work anymore? What if and I'm sorry to being sexist here, but just because all of you are women, I'm saying that. But even if a guy decides to say, I'm not doing it anymore and I'll go and work for McKinsey or EY or KPMG, it's worrisome because he's the one that I'm betting on. So a lopsided cap table is not a great idea. No matter, and I've not seen your cap tables, but I'm sure in many cases, strong founders, strong driven founders who are, who've conceived the idea tend to keep most of it with themselves. Yeah. Oh, okay. So cap table is the shareholding in a company. So when you start a company, you kind of decide who the partners are, what are you bringing in, what are the others bringing in. So don't get a founder who's not equally worthy of what you are. Don't get a co-founder who is not going to work in tandem with you, who at least does not deserve a 20-25% cap table by virtue of his ability, experience, money, time, or whatever he or she is bringing. Otherwise, 5-10% is not a workable model. On the other side, you being too little is also worrisome. So you should be 50%, because if you are the driver, you are the pioneer, 50-60% is a good percentage for you to have. Don't go to unless you are 4 friends who are equally compatible and it's 25% across the board, or 3 of you are 33%, that's understandable. Then it's not you, then you are 3 co-founders or 3 founders, and which is fine. But in case of lopsided that way or this way, it doesn't work unless you're all equal. Equal is fine. Now, also sometimes cap tables have options. How many of you know what options are? Okay. So जो commerce पढ़ के आया उसको मालूम है options क्या है. So options are whether it's ESOPs, whether it's options that you have to give your employees because COVID times and you don't have money. Or you're bootstrapped and say, boss, you deserve 2 lakh rupees a month, you're a coder, but I can only give you 50,000 right now. This 1.5 lakh that you work for 12 months, because if 50,000 is your expenses, rent, food, etc., 1.5 lakh will continue and we will convert it when we get the first round of funding. So 12 months you work, 18 lakhs converted at such discount, add to that. All these are convertible options or options that you have for your employees or for people who give you money. So let's say you and I like the idea, I like the team, I want to invest, but we don't agree on valuation. Okay, which I'll come to on valuation later, which is a very, very sore issue. Imagine the odds of reaching out to me, having reached me, kindled the interest in me, and now we are at a situation where we are fighting on valuation. You're saying मेरी valuation 5 crore और मैं बोल रहा हूँ 3 crore है. So then also options kick in. Options are when I'll say fine, we will agree on a cap of 5 crore, minimum of 3 crore, and I'll give you 50 lakhs, which is convertible at such and such percentage discount at the next round. So that is also option. So which for people who've raised, that's why I say, I'm sorry, I'm going from someone who doesn't know anything to someone who's raised money and has to go next round. So I have to cover the whole spectrum here. So I'm trying to say that those options also can exist. So all those options should be carefully planned. Because if for any reason, I as an investor, investing in you in idea stage, having too much percentage is not good for you, not good for me. And so there's no point trying to do that, and we'll try and cover that in valuation. Debt. There are quite a few funds that do debt funding. Now, I don't know if anyone has done debt funding or thought of it, but if you are in a situation where revenues are going to come in about a year, you're going to go from red to black in 12 to 18 months, debt funding is not a bad option. A debt funding is a funding where you have a fixed interest rate that you pay with an option with the investor to convert if if that fund or he or she decides to convert at the next round of funding, which is within 6 months, 12 months to 18 months. And that option of interest or whatever or ROI is based upon that. You're giving that, but you're kind of not worried because if in the case you don't succeed, that debt is collateral free because it's convertible. It's not as if you are liable to pay if you don't achieve the revenues or don't have revenues at all. So that is some option that we can discuss for individually who wants to go and go deeper into it. I don't know if anyone would want to that, but that was a topic that I wanted to cover on. Valuation. I mean, valuation is such an important subject, and all of you have read, probably Google many multitudes of mathematical formulas that exist on how to value it. They don't mean anything. I mean, to me, all these accounting firms and all these valuation companies that do valuations, very few actually make sense to me because valuation depends on so many things. Valuation depends on the sector that you are in. Valuation depends on the gross revenue that you have. Valuation depends on the ability of the team. Valuation depends on the competition that you might have. Valuation depends on someone who was in the same domain and what valuation and what traction he or she has. Valuation depends on the profit that you have. Valuation depends on your past and projections. You've had an exit already as a founder. Valuation changes. Who is on your cap table? Who is the first investor? That changes your valuation. Who's your mentor? Where did you incubate? What college and school did you go to? Multiple things that change the valuation. It doesn't matter. A simple example is, what did Reliance just take over for 180 million? Urban Ladder. Urban Ladder was getting funded at XYZ. What did it reach, Harshit? You remember, I'm bad with numbers. And Reliance just bought it for 180 million. So what I'm trying to say is that were people who were investing earlier wrong? Were people who were exiting at this valuation wrong? It's just market driven. COVID changed many things. Ola, Uber, valuation changes suddenly. You know, everyone, so things change. Valuations don't have formulas. If valuations were based upon the current revenue and next 3 years revenue, then airline valuations in 2019 would be different from what they are now. So it doesn't matter because times will change, and if competition dies and if suddenly today Flipkart ceases to exist, Amazon's valuation multiply in that very single day. So who can project unknowns? So valuations is something that you as a founder, as a team, and what I as an investor at that point, how much can we visualize? How much can we see? How much mathematically, logically, and otherwise we can try and convince each other. So it's good to know all those numbers. It's good to know where and how. It's good to know what's the competition. It's good to know your strengths and weaknesses, but it should make sense to both of you. It is not something that should be a sore point between you and the investor at any point of time, especially in idea and early stage. Pre-series and series A ke baad, to existing investors decide what the valuation should be because they talk to each other. So that's okay. I'm just talking about until pre-series A, you need to be very, very careful, but you should know of the market ki valuation bazaar mein kya chal rahi hai and why should your valuation be X, Y or Z. So it's very, very critical. What I tell people in terms of valuation as a company startup is, first you draw your roadmap, financial roadmap, realistic roadmap to achieve a certain traction in 6 months to a year. Now, let's say you are at 1 crore revenue today and you're losing and your burn per month is 2 lakhs, I'm just giving you hypothetical figures. Now, if in 1 year your 1 crore will become 5 crore, and your burn from 2 lakhs will become to 2 lakhs profit, you should have the cash flow that is required to achieve that. Whether that's in 6 months or 12 months, whatever that is, from 1 crore to 5 crore, from burn to profitability, and that inflection point of breaking even is where you should have your finances. In your head, you show the profit and the hockey stick and everything, that's fine, but in your mind. So once, let's say from 1 crore to 5 crore, you need 50 lakhs at the most, and the biggest cash flow that you would need at any point of time from internal accruals and from external. Now this 50 lakhs should ideally be in the 8 to 12% of the gross valuation. Now 50 lakhs makes your valuation at 1 crore revenue to about 5 crores. For you to give me 10%, because I don't want more than 10%. You don't want to give me more than 10%, which is absolutely fine. So now at 1 crore revenue, do you think that you are worth 5 crores or not? Now you convince me that you're worth 5 crores. So you work backwards. How much money you need, multiply by 10, and then see if that's worth. If that is not worth it, if 5 crores is not the valuation that you will be able to convince me or yourself, you need to rework the plan. So what is the reworking of the plan here? Multiple things that you can do. Continue to bootstrap, put your own money in, break down the raise. 50 lakh ko 25 lakh kar do. Break down the 18 months to 9 months, 12 months, 6 months. Don't go from red to black, but reduce the red, but show traction in numbers. And valuation 2.5 crore to mil rahi hai na. You are justified, I am justified, people have told you, investor A has told you, now you're going to investor B. So you have some credence ke boss. X ne bola, to now Y ko I can say mera 2.5 nahi hai, 3 hai, because he was trying to be over smart. So you can bump a little bit, but break down your raise. Don't give more than 8 to 10%. Because after you achieve that, for much larger amount, you'll give 3 to 4% only. So the cumulative add of that next 25 lakhs, if you were to give 8% today for 2.5 crore valuation or 3 crore valuation, the next 25 lakh will be at 10 crore valuation. Because you have a graph which is going in certain direction. Then you can justify 10 crores. Then the person who is invested will help you justify that. And then when you raise 75 lakhs, you will only give 7%. So my only thing is that you need to work and break down that. That's option 2 that you have. If you can't justify valuation and if you can't raise money at whatever level. Option 3, of course, is the convertible, which we have taken. Fair enough. आप कह रहे हो 3, मैं 5, and we'll try and work out a minimum. And so that's convertible. That's also, it works with me. Many early stage, idea stage investors don't like that. Sometimes in the follow-on round, and what's the follow-on round? If I have invested at idea stage in your company, and now I need to reinvest, that's called follow-on round. So follow-on round में कई बार मैं convertible फिर भी मान जाऊँ, लेकिन first round में तो I want a cap on my percentage. Because that ambiguity is not good for me at that stage. Because why is it so? Because idea stage, early stage investment is the highest risk taking investments that we have. So we have to be very sure from our network, from our fund point of view, to be very, very clear. So all of you have to be very, very clear that I am not here to lose money. I am here to make much more than you will make. So if you don't understand that I'm not going to be making money, and if you don't agree to that, there will be no investment. So you really need to work that it's not that we're trying to be sharks, it's that we're taking a lot of risk. So in 10 of you that I invest, 1 or 2 of you will give me the returns that I want from all 10 of you. So, and that's the challenge that we have. So we really need to work on all that. So all those 3 options if the valuation is not happening. And we can go into details later on. Once you've agreed, once you've pitched, once you've identified the investor, once you've done the valuation and the negotiations, then comes the term sheet. Baap re baap. I think that, how many of you have signed term sheets? 4 of you, I thought. Hai na? So how many of you face challenges on clauses on term sheets? Term sheets are a challenge. You know, drag along, tag along. I'm trying to secure myself. You are worried about your company going to dogs because you want to sell it and I don't want to sell it, and conflict. So term sheets are a tough task. You know, you need a professional. You need a good consultant. You need to be fair to yourself and put the investor's hat. Term sheets don't happen if you look at it from only one point of view. So term sheets have multiple clauses that are very, very critical. There are voting rights, board seat, observer seat. All these things are very, very important. So don't be stubborn, but be firm. You know what's right for your company. You know where you want to take your company. I don't mind that because I'm investing on you. But if I feel that you're not flexible or you're being stubborn and not giving me reasoning and logic to the reason why you don't want to do that, you lose me. Because to me, you come as a stubborn person. So all of this is in play. While you have to stand ground, you have to be fair and logical to whoever is investing, whoever is trusting you. Very important thing that happens in between the valuation or before the valuation and between the term sheet is due diligence. Many of you fall through on due diligence. Now, due diligence is a very complicated thing. There's financial due diligence, there's legal due diligence. There's compliance, there's governance. If any time in your life cycle you've not paid GST on time or filed the returns on time or your liabilities on taxes or your salaries, it'll all show. You can't hide it. You can't change the bank statement. If you've had an issue where an employee sued you, disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. You need to tell me everything about what has gone wrong with you before I even go any further. वो अगर हम वहाँ पहुँच के मालूम पड़ेगा तो आपका भी टाइम खराब, मेरा भी टाइम खराब, and you've wasted your time where you should be putting in time with the startup. So disclosure for due diligence reasons is very, very important. पहले ही बोल दो कि जी I had a fight with my partner and he left me or she left me and we are not going to, he or she is a possible competitor, but this is what I brought and this is what we disagreed on. आगे जाना ही नहीं है, पहले चीज वो बता ही देनी है. There's no point hiding that because this will come and due diligence is an important step in fundraising. Don't stay away from it. SHA is pretty standard. How many of you've done so चारों ने shareholder agreement कर लिया सबने? So shareholder agreement is basically an agreement with you and the shareholders who invest money based upon the term sheet that you've written and that those shares are allotted, whether they're optional, they're convertible, or they're fixed, or whatever that is, that continues to happen. The other thing on the cap table that I forgot to tell you is that sometimes you have a cap table where you've already committed to someone and given that person 30–40% of equity. And that person is not active anymore, or he or she promised that I will quit the job at Google or Amazon and come and join you, and is not doing it because he or she is not sure that you will succeed, and he or she cannot risk his family or her family and the income that he or she is getting for whatever reasons. Now, cap table पे तो आ गया, तो उसमें एक secondary buyout option भी होता है, which is let's say you're a capital of 10 lakhs and shares are worth 10,000 rupees each. There is an option of you doing a secondary buyout before you go for fundraising. Whether you do it for yourself, whether you do it for a new co-founder that you want, or whether you sweeten the deal for the first investor that comes to you. So let's say मेरी and आपकी लड़ाई हो रही है 5 crore और 3 crore. I'll go back to that example on valuation. Now there is a secondary, there is a co-founder who is holding 20% equity, and he or she is not interested, and he says, I would like to get out at 10% profit of what I gave you, with a 20% or partially at 10% or whatever that may be. So that option you can say, boss, please listen to me, give me 5 crore valuation, but I'll give you 10% of my stock at a low cost because one of my co-founders or my father or my father's friend who invested and I gave away 10% of my equity at that point, wants to get out. It's been 2 years, he invested 1 lakh, give him 3 lakhs and you get it for 3 lakhs. So that makes my valuation at 3 crores. Your person whose dead meat is out of the cap table, and it sweetens the deal for you. And next round, when you say your first valuation was 5 crores, so you are judged based upon your previous. So all those multiple options come your way. I, as an investor, will bring it to you or give you those suggestions if I'm really in love with your company. But you should know, if it comes, what the answer is. You should know whether you should offer that now. You should know when to offer that offer. So all those things are very, very things, but if you don't know about it, you will not be able to offer it. How am I doing on time? 5 minutes more? I thought I will finish much earlier. So, and then the last thing is exit. And exits are very, very critical. And it's not exit for all of you. It's exits for me as an investor. That also creates a lot of blockheads, roadblocks. Because sometimes as a new investor, they want all the existing investors to go. Sometimes as a new investor, I want no one to go because I don't want to give them an exit. I want their skin in the game. Sometimes as an investor, I don't want people who are not good on the cap table to go. So multiple things happen. So you really need to understand what is going to happen at exits, whether you are going to give your investor an exit, whether you're going to give your co-founders an exit, whether you'd want that or the company needs that money and you don't want to give an exit or there's no second, because secondary buyout money doesn't come to the company. Exits money doesn't come to the company. It goes to the person whose shares or stocks are being sold. So you have to be very, very careful and aware of that. Though that is not your priority, but it shows well if you care and are concerned about the person who's wanting to exit. Once you are concerned and the other person is okay to exit at whatever valuation and at whatever terms, and so is the investor who's bringing in that exit, all legal documents will be handled by the two of them. You don't have to worry too much on all of that, so long as your equity and your riders are not being touched on. So on the SHA at that point, you don't have to worry about it. It will be between the two of them and they'll sort it out. But it should happen, and that again will only happen if you have the governance and compliance totally in place. That should not be compromised with, because this due diligence will happen at every step of your way, and disclosure is very, very important. And the new company that is investing, the research on that company or that fund or that person is again equally important. You should never, if you want to succeed in the venture that you've started, you have to continue to make sure that who comes in and who comes out. It's not just HR that you should be worried about. It's the investors and people who sit on the board or who as observers or as voting rights or as investors. It's very, very important, because we live in a very fragile world because of the online things that are available. So you have to be very, very aware of all that and conscious of all that and responsible towards that. So that's my story on how to pitch, how to work on fundraising. We can go on any deeper as we want to on all these subjects, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Mic do bhai. Because it has to go to Zoom. So I'll repeat your question, go ahead. On karo, on karo.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Mahavir. It's really, eye-opening session for me today. I have 3 questions to ask in the group and 3 questions to ask you in person later. You said something about organic growth. So can you define a little more, or can you elaborate a little more on the organic growth? One, is it same as what you say as traditional businesses or traditional growth? Is this terminology is the same or not?
It's the same, but I'll define it, yeah.
And second question is, let's say you made a wrong choice of investor. You have a wrong investor right now. So how do you correct that? That's the second question. Third question is, you said something about debt funding, right? So angels do that or they don't do debt funding? So these are the 3 common questions that I want to ask in the group. The in-person questions, I'll speak to you in later.
Yeah. So organic growth is growth which is 10% higher, 20% higher, 30% higher year on year. It's not a multiplier. So what a normal non-organic growth is 100 rupees this year, 200 next year, 500 the third year, 2000 the fourth year. Organic is 100 this year, 125 next year, 160 the following year, 200 the third year. That is organic growth. And that's more in traditional businesses or when you're trying to acquire businesses through online means. That's one. Second question was on? You have a wrong investor. So that's a very, very, it happens. And it's absolutely okay. And I hope he or she has a minority stake. I would have to sit down with him or her that you have an option. I have, let's say, just hypothetically, you have 70% and he or she has 30% equity, and as high as 30% even, and that's when you face the challenge. Either he or she should go, or you should let go of the company. I mean, you'll have to kind of sit across the table and discuss that with him. And that you only can do or should do when you have someone else coming in for a secondary buyout, or as an investor. You cannot do it if you don't have a backup plan. Fine. So you say, you have an option, you've invested 10 lakhs, I was foolish to give you 20% for that. And now you're stopping my growth because you're on the board, you and I are the only two people deciding and you veto or I veto and it doesn't work. It's not, either you buy the company and you run the company, or you let me run the company and I will give you so much returns in 2 years and let's sign a agreement for next round of funding. I will give you an exit or whatever that is. So you'll have to sit down across the table and negotiate that. Unlike life in general, divorces don't happen on the stock table. Either the company dies or you have to buy them out or they have to buy you out. That's the second option. The third, debt funding. Angels don't do that, but there are debt funds. There are angel debt funds that exist. They don't happen at idea or early stage because they want to mitigate their risk. It only happens post POC, post traction, and when there is a profitability in sight. Otherwise, if you don't have a cash flow, how will you service the debt? So the debt fund or the debt person, even an individual who's giving you a debt convertible, optionally convertible money, he or she needs to see cash flow. He or she needs to see that you will be out of the red if you went in this way. He or she should see some tangible growth. It happens at that stage. Because all of you were at multiple stages and not only at, I mean, I don't know what stage you are at, it doesn't happen at idea or early stage. It happens post POC, post traction, post month on month or year on year traction growth. It will not happen in the first 1 year of your company. Did I answer all your questions? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, sorry. So the first question is, so there's a order to how you raise funds, right? Like there's seed, then pre-series A, series A, series B, etc. Now this makes sense if you have like you have figured out your business model. Now what happens in the case where, and you also spoke of an example or two of people you funded before who are changing business models in between because you tried something, you figured out that maybe it's another customer or you need to change things, right? So if you're doing that, you have the learnings of your past experience, but very practically a new business model is still at an early stage. So for your next round, do you do a early stage fundraising again, or does the ecosystem kind of understand that this would have happened and hence you're still at, like you're moving ahead to Series A? Like, so how do you define that stage if your business model is changing? That's question one. Question two is, so there are a few key metrics that you have mentioned, right? Like growth, like, so X growth or amount of traction that you should have, etc. Are there, how do we define for ourselves what is a good number for those metrics before we go to an investor?
Sure. I will answer the second question first because I forgot the first question. I'm bad with all that. Traction and growth of traction is different for different sectors. So if my market size is the entire city of Jaipur, my traction and growth is different. If my market is a village around Jaipur or villages around Jaipur, and the penetration of smartphones is X less than Jaipur, the numbers are different. It depends on the sector. And if you are in impact and you are into a B2B, or a B2G model, your traction. You can't have 10,000 businesses as your customers. You can have 10,000 consumers as your customers. So it just depends on what you're doing, where you're doing, what stage you are in, and what other competition is doing or is possibly doing. So it should be logical, and it should make sense to you, achievable, as I said, realistic. It cannot be ke sare aankhon wale chashma pehnenge kind of a market. It has to be very, very realistic. So does that answer your question?
Even after that, like I understand that for every person, the absolute number would be different.
Even after that, it has to be a multiplier.
So like, is 5x good, 10x good, 15, like?
Whatever you can achieve.
Okay, because for me, I understand that as an individual organization, I'll define something, but wouldn't investors, because they're investing across sectors, don't
so long as it's a multiplier, it doesn't matter. It should be achievable for you. You should be more comfortable in it. For me, if so long as it's a multiplier plus 2-3x in 6 months to a year, I'm absolutely okay with it. Even if you achieve more, that's great. That's second. What was the first question?
The first question was about changing business models and how you define.
So that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong in changing business model. For me, a startup that has failed, pivoted, changed, is a far better investment option than someone who's not. Because you've now understood the importance, you've now understood a bad investor, you've now understood what went wrong. I would value you more. You are pessimistic and you are depressed and you will give me the company for less money, but I would personally, in my mind, but disclosure. If you don't disclose your failures and you think you're smart enough not to tell me your failures, it'll come. You can't hide this. It's so intimate, the relationship between the first check that is written or the first investor, that you cannot hide it. There is a daily issue that might come. And you can't hide. And you need him or her. You do definitely need her. That's my thing. Anyone else? Yeah, ma'am. Udhar de do pehle.
So we are talking about the investments, and what my
Maybe a little
question
louder.
is about the cap table, where the advisories are on board, and what would be a better process or options for the exit policy of an advisors on board, because they bring in a different value. It might not be through the money, but they will help you throughout your journey to accelerate. But what would be an exit options for the advisories on board?
Great. So advisors are important at early stage. They should not be getting more than 1%, 0.5%, 2% at the most, at any point in time. Don't give advisors flat 1% or 2%. Create milestones for you. Create milestones for them. Even when I invest 1 crore, I will create milestones for you and give you money in tranches. And I did not discuss that because we did not go. You have to understand, we are all trying to reduce our risk. So why would you not reduce your risk? Why would you not put the advisor to test? Why would you not say whether, I'll say, oh, I know everyone in Thai. I can get you money. Why would you not put me to test? Do people really listen to me? I mean, your research aside, your knowledge about me aside, you really need to put me to a test that, sir, fine. I'll give you 1% when we raise first round. I will give you 1% more when we raise the second round. And if you want to get them out, secondary buyout, or the investor who feels that the advisor is no longer needed and he or she is hampering more than helping, he'll be out based upon the investment that happens at the round that you decide to close at. Advisors have no role on the board. They have no value on the board. Legally, you are much stronger than what you should be.
Hi, Mahavir. So I'm just going to put an extension to her question. So typically in my case, if my business model is taken a pivot due to the pandemic, and we have an existing business model that is fetching revenue, but whereas the pivot is something very unique, a creative kind of thing that we are trying to bring in. So what amount of traction would I need to show to get investment for developing that? Because that's a tech product. Or should I actually take loans and show some success and then go to the investor?
I would need to know your business specifically to answer that question. There's not one right or wrong. Okay. Pivot is fine. Tech driven, you need to spend on R&D, you need to spend on to create a MVP. All these things are important, and I understand that, but it basically depends on what the product is and what the market outreach will be. Sometimes it's good to invest yourselves, but sometimes you can raise money if the pivoted product or service will be unique in its own way. It just depends on very, very specifically what we'll discuss
We'll
offline.
talk that off. Yeah. Thank you.
Someone here had a question. Oh, yeah, sorry, you had a question.
I had one question. When a startup is there, correct? The most important thing when a startup decides to go in for an investor, it is the numbers. But when we actually look around, there are two numbers which I really find around. One is what is your acquisition or the customer, that is the number. And the other is the number which actually is what is there on your balance sheet. But when you look around with the kind of space where you are in, you really lose your focus in terms of what is it that you really need to present on. Is it the numbers that you have acquired? Because in the space where we are in, we see that the investors are looking more at the numbers of the customers that are acquired by the competitors, and they are not really looking at the kind of revenue or profits that organizations are doing in terms of burning the money to acquire those. So it really gives up a confusion as to what is it that we really need to focus on when we are actually going into an investor to look in for that kind of things in terms of raising the funds. But is what really would like.
Yeah, so it's a challenge, and I please take a seat. I think it's difficult for you as a founder or a co-founder to see what number is important. From an investor point of view, cost of customer acquisition is important. The life cycle of the customer that I will recover that cost is important. Because it shows me when will you be profitable. The competition's numbers are also equally important. Are they making money, or do they have more customers than you do? Or are they growing at a much faster pace than you are? Will they swallow you up or eat you up, or your market is also important. All these things are important. So it's if I want to give an analogy, I would like to tell you that everything is important in life. You should be passionate, you should be strong, hardworking, knowledgeable, education. You know, different traits that all of us need to have. Now you have some, you don't have some. So it's okay. But for me, the 5 most important traits is what will make me invest in you, that you need for that business. If they are missing, it doesn't matter if your cost of customer acquisition is less, if your balance sheet is profitable, if the other company is far more stronger, or is it far invested than you are, or I will be able to. So multiple things will play a role. You can't take this confusion away. It will be there. You need to justify it for yourself. And I'll tell you something. Fundraising should not be your motive. Fundraising is, by the way, something that's happening if it happens. You should work towards a business that you will be able to survive without the fundraising. If you don't have that roadmap and road this thing, you will find obstacles and you will get confused. Don't get confused. Funding will happen if it has to happen. This is not be it and all. You have to work towards it. You should try it because it will accelerate your growth. You need to do that. But it should not be of 100% job that you're doing every single day. So don't worry about us. Worry about your business. Worry about your growth. Worry about your bottom line. Worry about the love that you have for what you're doing. We will come or not come, not important at all. I'm not a requirement in this entrepreneurial journey of yours. I'm an option. Always remember that. Banks give loans, friends and family give loan, people invest money. I'm just an option. But you and your business to you is not an option. And on that note, we will talk with tea, coffee. Thank you, everyone.